Welcome to LearnHowToQuilt.com. I'm Anne, and today I'll be reviewing a traditional quilt with 4 patch blocks and squares set on point. Both of these books contain directions for this pattern. You'll find a link below if you're interested in purchasing one. Each of these books contain quilts that look complicated but are really beginner friendly, with the exception of their larger sizes. I'll be using this checklist to determine if the quilts are beginner friendly. So let's look at the directions in this book by Mary Penders. It's Quilts from Simple Shapes. She has a series of these. They were published in the 1990s. And this one is on squares, which is a great shape for beginners. The directions are pretty easy to read. She's given you templates in the back of the book for cutting. So this is great if you're a hand sewer, or she gives you rotary cutting directions. Kate Fawcett's Quilts in Ireland features the same quilt, but done up in his fabric line. Once again, his directions are pretty easy to follow. For the squares and the 4 patch blocks, he gives you rotary cutting directions. And then for the triangles in the corner, he gives you templates. Sewing this block is pretty simple. This quilt features all straight line seams, and there's some matching at these intersections. If you're just sewing 4 patch blocks and squares together and it's not set on point, the only shape that's involved in this quilt are squares. But when you turn this to put it on point, like this quilt, and on the outside edge, you're going to have these triangles, which are half square triangles and quarter square triangles. Now the directions in each one of these books have you use a template to make those triangles. But you can rotary cut these using the formulas for half square and quarter square triangles. If you're not sure how to do this, check out our video on triangles. Now it's hard to determine how big these quilts are just by looking at their picture, but this one's about 80 inches by 80 inches. Now that's a pretty large quilt for a beginner, especially since there's a lot of piecing in this quilt. It'd be difficult to machine quilt this after everything's been put together. Now this quilt's a little bit smaller. It's about 50 by 60 inches big, but like this one, it has a lot of piecing in it. So if you're a quilter with a lot of patience, then both of these quilts would be perfect for you. If you just want to get your feet wet and you don't want a big project, then I would recommend maybe cutting this down, let's see, to something about this size where you only have a few blocks, or to something like this, which could be a wall hanging. Choosing fabrics for these quilts is easy. As you can see, just about anything goes. This quilt was from a class by Angie Woolman called Color Me Yellow, and part of the curriculum was based on choosing different yellows on that color wheel scale from orange yellows all the way over to green yellows. So this is a fun pattern for playing around with color and value. You can use I Spy prints or batiks. You'll see if you turn these 4 patch blocks, you'll get a different look based on the value of the fabric in these squares and these 4 patch blocks. As always, you want to pay attention to directional prints like this dog fabric here. If the squares aren't set on point, this will be okay. But if you set it on point, you might not like how this fabric looks in this I Spy setting. This quilt's modeled off of an antique quilt, and I'm not sure if they meant to turn these 4 patches around, but you'll notice that they're kind of mixed up. And I like that look, because when I first looked at it, I never noticed that until I started working on it. Notice these 2 quilts. Both are based on a pattern that has 4 patch blocks set on point. The color's been used to make these rows stand out. Unlike this quilt where the 4 patch blocks are randomly placed, the 4 patch blocks in this quilt are arranged to make certain groups stand out. The dark blue and dark green squares in this border make use of color and value to produce a secondary design all the way around the outside edge. I chose to review both of these patterns because they're very simple blocks that look more complicated because of the fabric. So if you're looking for a project for a beginner, you might want to check out each one of these books. Let me know if you need help making the project smaller. Leave a comment below or email me at ann@learnhowtoquilt.com. Do you want to just try one 4-square block before diving into a big project? This video includes detailed instructions. You'll find the link below. Thanks for visiting learnhowtoquilt.com. We'd love to have you like, subscribe, and share our videos with your friends. Thanks.